Hello everyone and welcome to SCNM's webinar. We're very excited to bring you this interactive online experience that will let you learn more about Naturopaths Without Borders, an organization launched in 2004 by a group of passionate SCNM students who wanted to provide naturopathic healthcare to impoverished communities across the world. My name is Eve Belotis and I will be your host for today's webinar. During this webinar, you'll be hearing from Dr. Zeenia Junkeer, an SCNM alumna who serves as Naturopaths Without Borders Director of Community Outreach, and Jacob Wolf, a fourth-year SCNM student who actively participates with the SCNM chapter of NWB. First, we'll hear from Dr. Junkeer, and let me introduce her now. Zeenia Junkeer is a naturopathic physician licensed in the state of Oregon. In 2004, she received her BS in Justice Studies and Social Inquiry with a concentration in Child and Family Studies from Arizona State University. The decision to attend a naturopathic medical school was solidified by her work with children who have autism and other behavioral challenges, as well as those with limited access to medical care. Dr. Junkeer pursued and completed her ND training here at SCNM in January of 2010. The following year was dedicated to postgraduate precepting in the fields of pediatrics and women's health, as well as volunteer work at the local children's hospital. A passion for community health led Dr. Junkeer to Haiti to join colleagues from Naturopaths Without Borders in working for an Oregon nonprofit organization called Mama Baby Haiti in hopes of bringing medical resources and care to those in need, especially the pediatric population. NWB currently has plans underway for a project launch in Morne Rogue, Haiti in 2013. Dr. Junkeer has a passion for community education programs, garden projects, contraception programs, and community health worker training programs, all of which allowed her to merge her love for education, social justice, and capacity building with clinical practice. And after Dr. Junkeer, you'll hear from our second presenter, Jacob Wolf, a fourth-year student here at SCNM. Jacob graduated from Pennsylvania State University with a BS in biobehavioral health. He's been working as an EMT since 2005 and spent a year in Israel volunteering with the Israeli Ambulance Corps and teaching English to middle school and high school students. He's been very active with Naturopaths Without Borders since starting ND school and has gone on several SCNM-sponsored trips to work at the free naturopathic clinic across the border in Mexico. Before enrolling at SCNM, Jacob worked in the outdoor adventure field, teaching kids and adults fun and challenging ways to explore the world around them. He also worked for the National Board of Medical Examiners, writing questions for the United States Medical Licensing Exam, the USMLE. Jacob has a lifelong passion for helping others and is considering a focus in pediatrics when he graduates in July of 2013. Just a few short months away. I'm sure he has begun the countdown. So once again, thank you for attending our webinar. We hope you find this presentation both interesting and informative. And with that, let me turn it over to Dr. Junkeer to begin our presentation.
Okay. Thanks for the intro, and basically I just wanted to give you a little bit of history about our club. So basically, I didn't get to SCNM until 2006, and NWB had already started and was already an established club at that point in time. But the history of NWB is that in 2003 it began as a Spanish club. There's a large Hispanic and Latino contingent in Arizona, and especially in Phoenix area, and so trying to kind of figure out how we could fulfill the needs of the community, this club was born. And so initially they did Spanish. I think it was like a Spanish hour that they did during the lunch break, and so everyone kind of came and learned a little bit about the needs of the community, and then it led to a full formation of a club. So now we have an NWB chapter in 5 of the 7 naturopathic schools, and actually another one has just been brought about, so that'll actually be 6 of the 7 naturopathic schools, and one at the University of Arizona that started this year as well. And as you see at the bottom, we have our full-time Haiti project that just started in 2013. So basically, NWB started as a club at SCNM, and then in 2011 we took it to a full-blown nonprofit myself, Dr. Sean Hessler, and Dr. Sarah Preston Hessler, and Dr. Mary Kay Geyer were the founders of that 501c3 nonprofit NWB. So some of the past projects that NWB has worked on, as you can see here, Hamilton Elementary School, where there's a clinic that ND students rotate through, there were education classes, primarily nutrition education classes that began at Hamilton Elementary School, and as well as the Juvenile Detention Center. That was actually one of my first ventures in with NWB, is that I worked at the Juvenile Detention Center. So what we did was we were assigned different groups of youth. I did youth females 13 through 16, and we sat down once a week and we did nutrition classes. We talked about sexual education. We talked about really anything that they wanted to speak about that we thought perhaps we had, the ability to kind of open and expand the minds, and especially, outreach to children who otherwise may not have had that opportunity. Marda Hade was a longer-term clinic, not like Rocky Point where students went for a day or two. It was a 1 to 3 week project working with a Mexican MD and acupuncturist, where they did a sliding scale clinic. Saw about 10 to 30 patients a day, and again, students were there and docs were there anywhere from about a week to 3 weeks. There was a community health worker acupuncture training in Guatemala that was worked on, as well as Nature Quest India this past year, where a couple of schools sent students to India to study Ayurvedic medicine and homeopathic medicine as practiced in India. So our current projects, we have 2 main current projects. Rocky Point is the longest running of those projects. So that's a monthly clinic. Basically, students meet at SCNM and they drive down together, stay a night or 2 nights, work in the clinic, and then return back. This was something that was wonderful to be able to be part of as a student, while I was a student, because, I think a lot of people have this idea that they really want to be part of something bigger, a global health group, but they don't necessarily know how to get involved. And so this was a really good opportunity for students to be able to say, okay, let me take 1 weekend, we'll go down to Mexico, kind of see if this is something that I'd like to do, and then perhaps this can snowball into a larger role for me in a global health group. So, again, kind of like the bullet point says, without a long-term commitment. I mean, students are able to go and to come, or they don't have to say, I'm going to go every week, but they do get the opportunity to go, every month. They do get the opportunity to go if they'd like to. Haiti is our big project. We actually just arrived. Dr. Sarah and Dr. Sean arrived today in Haiti, and I'm heading down next week. And we're essentially working with a Haitian MD down there who already has a clinic, and we are just kind of coming to build the capacities of the community by providing resources, education classes, while still working clinically to see patients and also to teach at a local nursing school. Dr. Martine, who's a doctor we work with in Haiti, does work with some herbalists there, and so we're working on a couple of projects to kind of link and bridge the traditional medicines that are used in Haiti as with the allopathic medicine that is most commonly found there. Already we have over 50 students signed up to go in the spring. The first group comes down in the middle of February, and then all through March and April we have student groups, and then we also have students coming in the summer, some for longer term projects, and even some undergrad and research students too. So it's really an exciting project. It's just getting off the ground, and we're really excited about where it's going to go. This is a picture of some of the students at Rocky Point. So besides just getting a wonderful idea of how naturopathic medicine is practiced in a low resource setting, students are able to learn a lot about the medicinary. As you can see, we have tons and tons of donations. A couple of storage units actually full of donations, and so students not only learn to sort and to figure out what we have and what we can utilize for the patients there. So one of our tenets is that basically naturopathic medicine is very well suited for resource poor settings, and one of the ways that students learn this best, I think personally, is that they recognize that you don't necessarily have access to everything out there, but with the medications and the supplements and the things that you have, you can still provide top-notch care. It's a little bit more of like solving a word problem, right? So you kind of have to think around it occasionally. But I think that it gives the students a really, really great understanding of how to practice medicine, how to take into account, you know, exactly what the patient is going through, and then what the resources are for that patient as well. This is a picture of our clinic in Montrouge. On the right-hand side is just a little garage, and then actually the next lot is a huge garden plot area that we are going to be able to utilize to do a community garden. And then the second level of the clinic, we have rooms, so that's where the students will stay, and that's where Dr. Sean and Sarah and myself will stay while we're down there. Dr. Martine, the Haitian MD who works here, also lives on the property in the back. It's a really gorgeous big property that's going to be wonderful. It's a huge open area for community education classes, which is also going to be a big part of what we do down there. Other awesomeness. One of my favorite things, and we can all read these points, I guess, but one of my favorite things about what we're doing on the ground in Haiti in particular, and in Rocky Point, is our collaboration with other organizations and other NGOs on the ground. I think that it became abundantly clear when I went to Haiti the first time that, you know, there are many organizations, 10,000 NGOs actually in Haiti to be exact, you know, more than any other country in the world, yet you're still seeing, you know, lack of access to care, you're seeing a lot of barriers that people are facing, and there's not a whole lot of dialogue between the groups. So when we were down there, we really talked about how we could best serve the needs of the community, and one of those ways is to help you know, bridge the gap between some of these other organizations. So the more that we learn about what the other organizations do, and we can bring our work and their work together, the stronger that the community will be. So that's one of our big sticking points in Haiti, is to collaborate with other groups on the ground. We always have an evolving medicinary. We have a lot of things donated, and the more that we learn about and people, you know, bring donations and other things down, the more that we can say, hey, we could utilize this, and then perhaps we can create specific asks for that. So again, we learn about new medications all the time because they're donated to us, and then we're having to learn about how to utilize them in that particular setting. So it's actually quite fun. And then, you know, just being able to be a naturopathic physician clinically, and not necessarily feeling like we have to just rush people in and out, that we can actually spend time talking to our patients, we can get to know them, we can discuss with them, you know, best practices. And I think that in that way, again, we're strengthening the community to just become healthier instead of just, you know, individually creating health person to person. So here are a couple of stories. This is Rosenica. Rosenica was one of the first patients, essentially, that we had at the clinic. Dr. Sean and Dr. Sarah went down in November, and then I came in January. So they had met Rosenica sometime between November and January, and so when I got there, I was introduced to her. This is actually a very good picture of her. When I first met her, her entire face appeared to be burned. It wasn't. It was a really severe case of impetigo that had then had another bacterial infection compounded, and it was just a really, really sad situation. Her family, very poor, and even for Haitian standards, if you will, she lived with her grandmother. There was no roof on the home, you know, so she was always exposed to a lot of the elements. So her mom came, and we treated her initially actually with antibiotics, and then just put her on a daily regimen of really good naturopathic care, told, you know, mom and grandma that they could come anytime that they needed to the clinic if they wanted to talk about, you know, finding other resources, meaning, you know, basically, how do you get food? How do you create health in a place where people don't have proper access to food? It doesn't matter at that point in time how much medication you're able to offer. If somebody can't stay healthy, you know, with food and water, then we have a big problem. So we tried to brainstorm different ideas for, you know, grandma and for mom, and they're actually both farmers, so we talked about perhaps planting different kinds of foods that might be more nutritious so that they could feed them to Rosenica. So Anyway, she's kind of been a success story, meaning that she has waxed and waned, but overall, her health and the health of her family has gotten stronger. I saw her, there we are, I saw her when I went back in August, and she was talking and dancing and singing, and her hair had grown, and it was just really amazing, you know. And so I think that it's one story that shows that more than just clinical care and medications and, you know, quote-unquote handouts, if you will, meaning here you take this and then come back and see me. Really a holistic approach to being able to say how can we create health and empower this family to be healthier, because in the end that's what needs to happen, really. This is Dafka. This was a very sad story. Dafka's mother passed away, and her father was excuse me, her sole caretaker. At that point in time, she was probably about, I want to say 9 months, maybe 8 or 9 months old. Basically, Dad was feeding her a combination of sugar, water, and cookies that they put in water and mix up into a bottle. She was severely malnourished. She didn't move much. She was really just trying to survive. We got her on a program called Medica Mamba that was funded by donors. It's a local Haitian project where they utilize Haitian peanuts, and by an American NGO, excuse me, though they utilize Haitian products. It's a great program, and again, it's something that NWB can run with you know, the donations from our supporters. So here's a picture of Innocence, which is her father, and Dafka, a few months later after utilizing the Medica Mamba, the fortified peanut butter. We also helped Innocence find some work to do so that he could pay the rent, because he had been kicked out of his home. So for a few days, he and Dafka came to live at the clinic. And here is Dafka in May. I mean, she just looks amazing if you look at this picture of her in January and then this one in May. I mean, just a totally different child. She had started babbling and cooing, and you know, when I first met her, she would just sit in this little basket all day long without moving. I mean, she really just had no ability to move, and, you know, no energy essentially, because she was so malnourished. And you know, here she is after you know, going through this program, and also, you know, we also treated her at the clinic when she was ill too. So that was a good story. And this is Marie. Marie came, all she wanted to do, she said, was go to church. She said, if you could help me go to church, that would be fine. So we said, okay, Marie, what's your problem? She had low back pain problems. So we did acupuncture on her. Her daughter would help bring her in. Sometimes we would even pay for a motorcycle to get her in because she couldn't walk. And about 3 weeks into the acupuncture treatment, she came and she brought this. And she said, I made it to church this Sunday, and I just wanted to thank you all for that. So it was, I mean, these are amazing, wonderful, delicious gifts from Haiti, and the fact that, you know, we could help her get to church on Sunday was just, you know, we all bawled. It was really an amazing, amazing story. So the future of NWB, basically we're looking at increasing this, increasing our reach with the Haiti project, meaning we'd like to get residencies and internships for naturopathic students to come in. The idea would be that we would train community health workers. We would train Dr. Martine, the MD, to do some of our naturopathic therapies that she wants to utilize, that we would work on perhaps creating some sort of materia medica for botanicals. Again, bringing these resources so that we can empower the community instead of just coming in and saying, hey, we're going to set up long-term and do this work. So we also are exploring our next projects. We have a couple of things in the works right now for projects in Africa, as well as just making sure that our student chapters are really strong and getting other opportunities. This is my favorite picture that I took from Haiti. It just, you know, for me, it says hope. It's gorgeous. It's beautiful. I mean, Haiti is one of the most amazing places in the world, and you know, I wouldn't have been able to recognize that or learn about that had it not been for my work at SCNM, and then, you know, my colleagues who came to Haiti, and then me coming to Haiti. And I mean, it's just really, for all of us, we love the work that we do there. We're really thankful that we're able to do it, and you know, I think we feel as much of a return as the patients feel there.
Great. Thanks so much, Dr. Junkeer. And now to hear from a student who has participated in a lot of NW trips, I will turn it over to Jacob Wolf.
Hi everybody again, my name is Jacob Wolf and I am a fourth year student here at SCNM, and yes, I am looking forward to graduation. I'm the immediate past president of the NWB chapter here at SCNM. I'm just trying to give you a little idea of the student perspective of what it's like to be involved with NWB at schools. So just a little bit on why I got involved. NWB was a big reason why I chose to actually come to SCNM. I did research about all the schools. I interviewed at a number of them. And I had always had this desire to do something like Doctors Without Borders or to help other people medically in other countries. So the fact that SCNM had this program in some capacity before it even started was a huge plus. I have a past history of volunteering and helping others is what really gives me my energy and drive. And for a lot of students here at SCNM, it's what helps them. You go through exams and tests and you're in the classroom and you're sitting all day long and studying, and sometimes you just need that break to refocus and see what the end goal is. So helping others, whether through a medical setting like with NWB or in any way that you see fit, can really help you throughout your schooling at one of the schools, or especially here at SCNM. SCNM also has a community service requirement, so it's a great way to kind of plug that in and get that done while getting patient contacts and learning about your diagnostic skills and really being able to flesh out your ability as a practitioner. And you get to make people healthy. Traditionally, without going on trips like this, you would see your first patients a little later on in your schooling, but if you go down on the NWB trips to Rocky Point, you're able to see patients right away. You can practice your diagnostic skills, you can practice your vital skills, which you learn pretty early on. You're able to think about different treatment modalities, able to see different things the doctors are doing, and you have this ability to just flesh out your educational experience and connect all the different pieces that you learn in your classes, which is really helpful. You also get to learn and see things that you probably will never see in a clinic or possibly ever in your life, or maybe not here in the United States. Just a few examples. We saw a girl with acalvaria, the bones on the top of her skull failed to fuse properly, and she went untreated in Mexico for, I think she was 8 years old or so. They didn't have anything to do, and we didn't really have anything to do either, but we could give some recommendations and guidance and some body support to help her. She had numbers of infections and other stuff that could be helpful. I had a patient with blast injuries. He was making homemade fireworks, and we were able to help him reduce some of the scar tissue and help him with his hearing. He had blown both of his eardrums. So just little things. For many of the patients, it's their first time ever to a doctor. They don't have, in the area that we work in Rocky Point, it's very low socioeconomic status. They may not have ever been to the doctor or have the means to get to a doctor or the money. So we're the first people that they've seen, and we can help them with problems that they've had throughout their entire life. NWB also offers leadership opportunities, which are great. Helps you get involved in the school a little bit deeper than just sitting through classes and going through the motions. We have a number of different positions. We have an executive board, people who work in the medicinary. We need people for fundraising, cultural relations. People can help teach Spanish or other language and get people more culturally sensitive to the ins and outs of people's days and lives in Mexico and other countries. And more positions. I mean, really whatever you're able to provide is a huge help to us. It's also a lot of fun. Going on trips is great. We generally live in the evenings. We have a great time driving down, spend the night there overnight, and then work in the clinic in the morning. The clinic day is 8 to 10 hour day of seeing usually 35 to 40 patients, sometimes more, sometimes less. You rotate through, you see all these different aspects of how our clinic works, which gets you a good idea of how you might want to run your practice in the clinic, or how kind of global health type clinics work with limited means. As far as the trips, I've been down on 20 trips, so we have a trip almost every month. I've got involved, my first 1 or 2 months here at SCNM, and I've been going down consistently. We offer single-day trips and multi-day trips occasionally. Once in a while, we get together with some of the other chapters and have them come down, and we host them in Mexico. are one of the more active chapters since we are so close to Mexico. We have this population that we feel is great to serve, and we're able to go down there regularly. So it's nice to get down there. As Dr. Junkeer mentioned, we do have these extended trips. Folks are going down to Haiti in the coming months. The groups from SCNM and other schools go during their breaks and able to coordinate it as needed. And there are other sites, as mentioned. There's opportunities to help people around the world. The opportunities are endless, so we do want to continue to grow. And NWB helps you a lot. It's helped me through school a ton. It helps me to integrate all the concepts that I've learned in class. You're in a anatomy or physiology class, or you're learning some biochem or something in one of the diagnostics class, and you're able to see it in real life. You're able to see how the different pieces connect, how the physiology is affecting the pathology, and how you can bring in traditional Chinese diagnostics and other things just to put a whole picture together. Sometimes you get all of these little chunks and pieces here. You never really get the whole big picture. And when you finally get that chance to see patients, it can really be helpful. NWB, going on the trips consistently like we do here at SCNM has really helped me with patient management. It's allowed me to learn how much time I need to spend doing an intake, how much time I need to spend doing a physical exam, or getting more information and planning out a treatment. And as Dr. Junkeer mentioned also, we do have limited means down there. We have a lot of donations, but we don't necessarily have everything. So being able to think quickly, be on your feet, think a little bit outside the box and decide your different treatment modalities is something that you really can hone in on down in Rocky Point. Very often there's a treatment that you're looking for, a certain supplement, a certain brand that you've used frequently, and we just don't have it. It's not something that we bring down there consistently. So you need to step back and think about what's another way that you can treat the patient, and it's a great way to really rack your brain and learn what to do to help others. Definitely many more patient contacts. We do need a certain number of patient contacts in order to graduate, and it offers a great opportunity. Every once a month you can add 5, 7 patient contacts additionally onto your list, and it helps you just with school, and it helps you in the future as well, so you see more patients and see more pathology. It has enhanced my Spanish a little bit. My Spanish is still not great, but it gives you the opportunity to just practice those simple things for when you have Spanish-speaking patients, or just how to think in a different language. We tend to use translators a lot, which are extremely helpful. But being able to tell the patient, stand up, sit down, breathe in and out is very helpful, and can make the patient interaction more personable when it's coming through you rather than a translator. It's definitely taught me how to be more self-reliant. You work under a doctor or under a resident if they come down, and you do collaborate with them for treatment plans and need to confer with them for all of your diagnostics and everything, but it makes you think. It's not the same kind of interaction that we have in the clinic where it's a little more forced and structured. This is a ever-changing clinic. Even moment by moment, different things can happen and different people can show up. So it makes you take the time to flesh out a whole entire plan and flesh out an entire patient contact, which you'll need once you graduate. And it's definitely helped me grow deeper relationships with these patients. I try to go down monthly, sometimes it's every few months, but to be able to see these patients over and over again, which we don't always see in the clinic, is really helpful. And then obviously to expand my relationships with the NWB doctors and other folks who come down, just to, for great networking for the future. And I have another story also. I had a patient who was a 76-year-old male, and he came to our clinic with severe headaches. He actually came in on a trip that I didn't go down, and another student saw him. And he had like 10 out of 10, 11 out of 10 pain. He was almost incoherent. He was moaning and groaning, and could barely walk. And we were able to figure out what was going on. They prescribed a homeopathic remedy and some other supplements. And 1 month later, when I came down, we saw him, and he hadn't had a headache since the previous visit, since he started the homeopathic. And we learned at this time that it was the first time that, the previous visit was the first time that he had ever been to a doctor. And now he's now that he's more aware of his body and we've asked him all these questions and he's noticing all these different symptoms, he mentioned that he couldn't hear very well. We checked his ears out, and it turned out that he had earwax impacted in both of his ears. So this is an elderly man who thinks that he's losing his hearing, but really he had this impediment that's really easy to solve, and since he never saw a doctor or anybody about it, he would have never known. So we were able to clear out the earwax, and almost right away you could see that he was hearing better. He didn't have to turn his head as much to listen to us, and he started to pick up sounds in the rooms a little bit better. And then, as always with patients, you'll find this a lot in the clinic, that as you're getting ready to go or as you're stepping out the door, they say, oh, I have this one more problem. And he would mention that he had some trouble urinating, and after doing a male exam and checking his prostate was one of the largest that I've ever felt. So we were able to provide this general screening that many people here in the United States get regularly to a man who's never had, and able to help him over time to resolve his urinary issues. We did recommend some imaging. It's something that we don't do at our clinic. We don't have the means, but there are folks in Rocky Point who can. And at the next trip, he was continuing to see improvement in his hearing. His headaches were still gone, and his urinary symptoms were better from some of the supplements, but he still was looking forward to getting some of the imaging done. So in general, NWB offers all of these options, all these great enhancements to your school experience. Definitely get to travel. That's a huge plus for a lot of people. You feel stuck sometimes in school. You're always in class. It gets you to get out of there and refresh yourself. Can improve your clinical skills. Lots of patient contacts and different things that you'll see. Lots of practice early and often. This regular clinic experience can be really helpful. The leadership opportunities are great at SCNM. They can offer some of the volunteering hours through there. You get kind of incorporated in the school a little bit better. And as I mentioned in the beginning, you get to help people in need. And that's what most of us, all of us, are here for in school, is to the end goal of being able to help folks in need.
Great. Thank you so much, Jacob. Thank you to both of our presenters. And at this point, we do want to turn it over for questions. And we have quite a few that have come in, so let me just pull some of those out here. Jacob, can you talk a little bit, tell us again how long you've been involved with the club and how you balance being a student and being committed to NWB?
Involved in the club really my second or third month here at school. At that point, NWB was in a little bit of a transition. There were some past leadership that wasn't really working hard to advance the club. And this is back when Dr. Sean and Dr. Sarah, who Dr. Junkeer mentioned before, were heavily involved and still in school. And so they were getting close to graduating, and a couple of my fellow students at that point stepped up and started to help to redirect the organization. And it was hard from the very beginning. Time management is a huge issue in school, and the best I can say is I just made a time for it. I got my studies done during the day. I spent a lot of evenings working on NWB programs and weekends. We met together on weekends to both study and then to take a break to, flesh out bylaws or whatever we needed to do to get the organization running. So there's time. I mean, it's important to make time in school to do other things. And although this was kind of school related, it's very different than studying anatomy or histology or something. So you need that break from the studying to relax your brain and work on other things.
Okay, great. Thank you. And Dr. Junkeer, I will throw this one out to you. When working with donated pharmaceuticals or other supplements abroad, are you limited by the laws in the country that you're working in? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. In Haiti, they do not allow us to bring any expired products. So even though, certain projects that we have, and though I think we've recently changed our guidelines, but regardless, we have to be really careful about bringing those supplements in that are expired. Really, expiration dates have been the only issue that we've had in Haiti. I'm not sure if Jacob can speak to what is going on in Mexico, but I don't think that we've had any other issues with supplementations and medications.
Yeah, in Mexico, we have a similar issue, and it's really just at the border, since we're bringing in goods that they're not really being sold, but they see them as being distributed. They occasionally check expiration dates or just to make sure that the products are viable for distribution.
Great, thank you. There's also a question around the funding of the trips. The question is, how are trips funded? Are students responsible for sharing the cost of trips?
For the Rocky Point trips, we try to keep the expenses fairly low. They are student funded. You do have the opportunities to fundraise any way that you need. We do occasional fundraisers as a group to help lower our costs in general. For the trips, we've changed our numbers recently, but I think the price per trip for a student is around $40, $45. The price is decreased a little bit if you're what we call an NWB member, and that means meeting the requirements that we set per chapter. And here at SCNM, it's really just attending a couple meetings a quarter and being involved with fundraising and assisting the organization as possible. Outside of that, we have to pay for the hotel. It's usually $10 or $15 per person when you split the room 4 ways. We go out to dinner, and you can definitely bring your own meals, whatever if need be. And there's a fee that we share collectively with the mission that we go to down there to help support them and help them keep their clinic open.
Great, thank you.
Oh, and for the Haiti trip, the students are responsible for their own fees. I'll have to say that a large contingent of the students are able to fundraise their fees pretty easily, and even more so in that they can get tons of donations and other kinds of in-kind donations as well to bring down.
Great, thank you. Jacob, I know that you said that kind of from your perspective, you think SCNM has one of the more active chapters. Don't know if you can best answer this question, or maybe Dr. Junkeer, you can chime in, but there is a question around some of the other chapters and how active they are, and if they do similar work, if they do Rocky Point. Can either of you share some insight into that?
Yeah, the other chapters have a lot of local projects going on. The big advantage that we have here is that we can get down to Rocky Point in just a couple of hours. Some of the other chapters up at Bastille or at NCNM have projects that they work on locally for the communities that they can best serve in their areas. The other chapters, we try to join forces as much as we can and have them come down to Rocky Point, because it is kind of our longest running project and our most stable opportunity that we can really go down as frequently as need be.
Yeah,
great.
I would just second that, absolutely. The other chapters are they're getting going and they're creating wonderful projects in their areas as well, but definitely Rocky Point is an SCNM project that is, basically SCNM students.
Great, thank you. Again, if you have questions, feel free to type them in, and we are able to answer questions either about NWB, about the profession, or about being a student at SCNM or the admissions process. So feel free to ask any of those types of questions. So we talked a little bit about balancing studies and NWB. What about balancing family? Jacob, there is a question, a couple questions around are there students in the student body that have families, and how do they juggle that, and are those individuals involved with NWB as well?
Yeah, there are plenty of students in the student body who have families, or have growing families, or just starting families. Many people become pregnant during their time at school, depending on where they are in their life. So that's definitely accommodated for here. I mean, people are able to get through their studies as best they can. Obviously, some people may need to take some breaks if they're expecting a child or whatever. But as far as NWB, we have people in school of all different capacities and life stages. People who do have children who are able to get support for the weekend. Actually, Dr. Geyer, who Dr. Junkeer mentioned before, has a family. When she goes down, she has people to watch her children, and many students do. So it's just a matter of obviously planning ahead and setting the time to be able to go down. We do offer the trip often enough that people can schedule their lives and to be able to accommodate the trip.
Great, thank you. Dr. Junkeer, question for you. Do you have any advice on how to establish a practice as a new ND while also remaining committed to your service work? Do you think that's something that can be maintained in the long term?
I absolutely think it's something that can be maintained in the long term. I think that there are different levels of how that works, and I can just speak to what I do here. Basically, I spend half the year here and I spend half the year in Haiti, or so I have the last 2 years, and also planning to do so in 2013. I have a private practice with another naturopathic physician, so he can take over and see my patients while I'm gone, and we do inter-office referrals. I also hold another space in another part of Portland where I see patients on a sliding scale, where I just pay I pay a small fee to have that space. So I have kind of figured out how to utilize connections and colleagues here to make it work for me. But I think that, again, there's so many levels of doing that. And if you didn't want to be abroad, for example, you had a family and you needed to remain in the U.S., there are still many projects that you can find public health-wise that can allow you to do some of that service work as well as clinical work.
Great, thank you. So a question for either of you. Where did it go? What protective measures do you take to make sure that you don't get infections on any of these trips?
Sure, I have a good story about that one. We went down to Rocky Point maybe 2 years ago, and we had a patient who had a cough. She was coughing the whole time. We weren't sure. We asked her a lot of questions. It seemed like she just had an upper respiratory infection, and then as we were leaving, she mentioned that her son has active TB. So we stepped back and thought about that, and this woman may have TB. And we implicated our protocols that we have for kind of infectious disease contact. We have a doctor down there, Dr. Gonzalez, who we consult with. We drove over to him. We consulted with him about risk and concerns and vaccination levels in Mexico. And we gathered all the students who were in contact. We made sure everyone got TB tests. We retested them in a number of months. We got TB tests for the patient. We ensured the safety of the other members of the community since her son was still working in the public. So we have steps in place to prevent or at least mitigate any sort of disease transmission. While we're in the clinic for other diseases or other contacts like the flu, we do have protective equipment down there, and we use it as needed.
And similar in Haiti, there are many infectious diseases that are floating around, and essentially, especially with students, what we do is we know standard naturopathic preventative care. We know that there are a lot of treatments that we can utilize, and so we allow students access to any of our past treatments, meaning things that we have utilized with other volunteers who have come down, but also make sure that they understand the recommendations by the World Health Organization and other large health organizations, because I think that it's really important for everybody to make their own decision about potential vaccines, et cetera, that they want to utilize when they travel. But it's personally, I just stay really healthy. I just I take my multivitamins. I make sure to bring my probiotics down, and I have a whole little my own first aid kit dedicated to essentially the main infectious diseases down there. Malaria, cholera, dengue, etc.
Just to piggyback off that quickly, when we have students sign up for both the Rocky Point trip and really the Haiti trip as well, we do provide them with the current World Health Organization recommendations for vaccinations and disease risk. So they know. It's important to know that there are these risks down there.
Mm-hmm. Great, thank you. Have you found pushback from any allopaths either in Haiti or in Rocky Point?
We have not yet in Haiti. People seem to be really interested in what we do. I think there's still, most of the docs are still learning and are still, a little bit unsure about how different we are from allopaths, meaning in Haiti, sometimes allopaths and MDs will utilize traditional medicines, and so that's not necessarily seen as something that is super foreign as it is, maybe more here in the United States. But we've been well received by local MDs as well as the Ministry of Health in Haiti.
Yeah, in Mexico it's similar. Dr. Gonzalez, who we work with to consult down there, is an MD, and he's very supportive and open. We have supports of other community members and leaders. The biggest pushback that we often get is from the patients who are unsure of some of the therapies that we do, and just a matter of explaining something new to them. But in general, the community members and the allopaths in the region have not had any concern.
Okay, thank you. And can you talk about that question a little bit more broadly? So there's a comment about there seems to be significant opposition to naturopathic medicine from the public. How have you, Dr. Junkeer as a practicing doctor, do you face that? How do you overcome that? And Jacob, as a student, what has your perspective been with that?
I haven't felt much of that pushback. I sit on a couple of different collaboratives as well as work for a public health organization part-time here in Oregon, and it seems like most people are just really excited about what we're doing and what especially with this whole movement here in Oregon to coordinated care organizations and looking at really getting preventative medicine in the forefront. It seems like the community understands that we are best suited to do that, essentially, and I don't feel a whole lot of pushback at all.
Yeah, I mean, as I see a lot of family and friends and people I meet in the community who are getting more excited about natural medicine. The biggest concerns or competition that I've seen is generally, once you ask the person who's concerned about what we're doing, really what their concerns are, it just comes often down to a matter of explaining what we do. Often people are very unclear of our training or of our experience or the type of patients that we see or the type of therapies that we use, and it's using one of our big tenets as naturopaths, docere, the doctor as teacher, to explain to these people who are concerned, why we're here and how we help. And then after that, you can generally, or in my experience, people have generally been more receptive once they understand our position in the whole medical community.
Great, thank you. Dr. Junkeer, you mentioned that you gave the little girl that you showed us pictures of, that you gave her antibiotics, and then you moved forward with naturopathic treatment. Is it common to integrate the two, conventional medicine and naturopathic medicine?
Absolutely, absolutely. Especially with our work in Haiti, a lot of these bacterial diseases and infections are very severe, and it's not that naturopathic medicine and the tools that we have can't treat them, but like Jacob spoke to earlier, we don't have all of our medications, our supplements, etc. down there. So, when you see a child who is in severe pain, the same little girl had a raging ear infection. There actually, it was really bad. There were maggots that were coming out of her ears, and at that point in time, we could have utilized homeopathy and other treatments, but what we did was we took her to the hospital and we made sure that she got first-line care that we knew was appropriate allopathic-wise, so she could get out of that initial crisis. And being an ND, it sometimes is hard for me to say, yes, we need to utilize these allopathic techniques first, but in our work on the ground in Haiti, we just need to make sure that the patients are getting better, and if that means that we need to utilize, medications that are there on the ground first, and then bring in naturopathic therapeutics to keep people healthy so that they don't have to get to that point again, then we absolutely do that.
Great, thank you. And sort of to that point, how do the local people that you treat, how do they afford to purchase the supplements after NWB leaves? So what happens when they run out of supplements, or how do they access those in between trips?
Well, we don't. Essentially, we're there all the time, full-time on the ground. We had a little bit of overlap this year. There were about 4 months where we left Mama Baby Haiti, and then we created or initiated the clinic, the NWB clinic, which is actually right across the street. So that's one of the goals, is not to have these set-up shops where we come down, or anybody comes down, provides medications and care, and then leaves, and the community is unable to get the medications that they need. So we're down there full time.
In Rocky Point, it's a little different since we are there usually only once a month. We try to provide a month's worth of supplements or treatments to the patient, and oftentimes it's even easier in places like Mexico or Haiti, where people aren't used to being used to taking stuff all the time and aren't overloaded with different factors that help make treatment more challenging in the United States. So we can give them usually, or oftentimes, lesser than recommended doses, but see the same or greater effects from the supplements that we give. So we're able to provide them a lot, and then we return the next month. We've also worked down in Mexico to start training some people in some basic homeopathy and giving them a kit of homeopathic remedies. So if need be, they'll have the tools to be able to provide some treatment while we're not there.
Thank you. Dr. Junkeer, I will direct this question at you. Can you do NWB full-time? Is there any type of program like it in which you can have an income while working in different regions across the world?
Not as of today, but the hope is that as we grow as an organization, we win more grants, we get more funding, private donors, sponsors, etc. That would be the hope, absolutely, that we could then support interns, we could support residents financially, and then we could support the 3 docs, myself, Dr. Sean, and Dr. Sarah, financially, so that we could do this full-time.
Great. And then I will leave you both with one final question as we wrap up the webinar. What is your favorite thing about being a naturopathic doctor, and Jacob, about being a naturopathic student?
I really love seeing people get better. It's a great joy to see someone who's been in lifelong pain or has always had digestive issues to be able to come to us in our clinic or in Mexico, to be able to sit down and take the time to listen to them, which for many people it's the first time in a medical setting they've ever experienced, just having someone stop and listen to their entire story, and then be able to provide often simple recommendations to make them feel better for the first time in years or in their entire life. And that's really powerful to me, and it's one of my favorite parts of every day coming to the clinic.
My favorite thing is similar to what Jacob is saying, is I love to empower the community. I love seeing patients empowered. I love seeing our communities healthier and stronger, not only because of recommendations we've made, but because of docere, because we've talked and we've educated and we've brought resources that perhaps the community didn't have access to before. And when we do that, then patients are empowered to take control of their health. And they, whether it's in Haiti or here, patients will come to me and say, wow, I remember when you told me about sugar and how bad it was, and I haven't had sugar in weeks, and I haven't had any ear infections, or I haven't had sugar in months, and I haven't had this and that. And so you're watching people become empowered to take control of their own health, and that's really powerful.
Great, thank you both so much. If you have never been to the SCNM campus, we really encourage you to take a trip down. This is such a beautiful time of year to be in Arizona, so if you can make it out in the spring, highly encourage you to do that. And encourage you to consider coming out for our Discovery Day, which is coming up at the end of September. This is a great way to not only experience SCNM, but also learn more about naturopathic medicine. It's an all-day open house, if you will, with different presentations from doctors. You have an opportunity to experience some of the different modalities, hear from current students, alumni, and really get more information about being a naturopathic student and ultimately a naturopathic doctor. So really encourage you to do that. If you have specific questions about the admissions process or anything that you heard in today's presentation, or if any of your questions weren't answered, I encourage you to contact me at the email that you see on your screen or give us a call. We are here to answer any and all questions that you have either about the school or the profession, and really welcome the opportunity to speak with you about that. So with that, let me again thank our presenters, Dr. Zeenia Junkeer and Jacob Wolf. Thank you so much for sharing your time with us and the great information that you shared with us about Naturopaths Without Borders. What a great opportunity for students, but also for the individuals that you serve in the community. So thank you so much for being here with us today. And with that, I conclude today's webinar. Thank you so much. Have a great day.